The ocean is a place of endless wonder and mystery. It covers more than 70% of our planet, yet we've only explored a tiny fraction of it, less than 5% to be exact. What lies beneath those waves is a world so vast and unknown that it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. There are secrets down there, some beautiful, some terrifying, and some that defy explanation. Welcome to Mysteries Unveiled, where we dive into the strangest corners of the universe. Today, we're plunging into the deep sea to explore 5 incredible mysteries that will leave you speechless. So, let's get started and uncover these ocean enigmas together. Mystery 1. The Baltic Sea Anomaly. Our first mystery takes us to the chilly waters of the Baltic Sea, a place known for its shipwrecks and hidden treasures. In June 2011, a team of Swedish treasure hunters called Ocean X was out on a routine expedition, searching the seafloor with sonar equipment. They were hoping to find sunken ships, or maybe some lost cargo, but what they stumbled across was far stranger. Their sonar pinged back an image of a massive circular object, about 60 meters wide, sitting silently on the seabed. It wasn't just its size that caught their attention, it was the shape. This thing had sharp edges, a dome-like top, and what looked like a staircase leading up to a dark opening. It didn't look like anything natural. Peter Lindbergh, the leader of Ocean X, was floored. He later said he'd been hunting treasures for nearly 2 decades and had never seen anything so bizarre. Word of the discovery spread fast, and soon the Baltic Sea Anomaly was making headlines around the world. People couldn't stop talking about it. Some called it a sunken UFO, pointing to its disc-like shape and suggesting it might be an alien spacecraft that crash-landed long ago. Others speculated it could be a relic of a lost civilization, maybe even a temple or fortress swallowed by the sea. There were even wild theories tying it to World War II. Could it be a secret Nazi experiment gone wrong, abandoned and forgotten? The internet lit up with debates, and everyone had an opinion. The Ocean X team wasn't content to just guess. They wanted answers. They sent divers down to the anomaly, braving the cold and murky waters to get a closer look. What they found was a mix of the ordinary and the odd. The object was made of rocks like granite, gneiss, and sandstone, which are common enough in the Baltic Sea. But then they found something unexpected. A piece of basalt, a volcanic rock that isn't supposed to be there. The Baltic isn't a volcanic region, so where did it come from? The divers also noticed that the structure sat on a raised platform, almost like a foundation, and there were those strange features, the staircase, the dome, the precise angles. It was hard not to wonder if this was more than just a pile of rocks. Scientists stepped in to try and solve the puzzle. Geologists like Volker Bruchert from Stockholm University studied the samples and came to a pretty straightforward conclusion. This was probably a natural formation. He suggested it was a glacial deposit, left behind when massive ice sheets moved across the region during the Ice Age, dragging rocks and debris along the way. The basalt, he said, could have been carried there by the same glaciers, even if it was unusual. Other experts like Frederick Klingberg and Martin Jakobsen backed this up, pointing out that the chemical makeup of the rocks, stuff like limonite and goethite, was typical of the seafloor. They even explained the weird shapes. Glaciers can carve out all sorts of patterns as they grind across the landscape. But that explanation didn't satisfy everyone. Critics pointed out that natural formations don't usually have 90-degree angles, or what look like construction lines. Some wondered if the sonar images were too perfect, almost artificial. Lindbergh admitted their equipment wasn't top-notch. It was cheap and sometimes glitchy, which might have exaggerated the anomaly's features. Still, he stood by what he saw. And then there's the location. Hundreds of meters deep in a sea that's been sailed for millennia. Could an ancient people have built something there when the water levels were lower, only for it to be submerged as the ice melted? Or is it just a trick of nature, a cosmic coincidence that looks designed? The Baltic Sea Anomaly keeps us guessing, a riddle locked away in the depths, waiting for someone brave enough to uncover its truth. Mystery 2. The Yonaguni Monument. Next, we're heading to the warm, tropical waters near Yonaguni Island, the southernmost tip of Japan's Ryukyu Islands. It was 1986, and a local diver named Keihachiro Aratake was swimming through the area, scouting for hammerhead sharks to show tourists. He was used to the underwater scenery, coral reefs, fish, the usual stuff. But that day, he found something that stopped him in his tracks. Rising from the seafloor was a massive structure, unlike anything he'd ever seen. It was huge, 150 meters long, 40 meters wide, and 27 meters tall. And it looked like it had been built. Aratake later said it felt like he discovered a lost city beneath the waves, with flat terraces, sharp steps, and what seemed like pathways carved into the stone. This became known as the Yonaguni Monument, and it's been sparking arguments ever since. The structure is made of sandstone and mudstone, and its features are what make it so compelling. There are wide, flat platforms that look like plazas, staircases with uniform steps, and edges so straight they could have been cut with tools. Marine geologist Masaki Kimura from the University of the Ryukyus became its biggest champion. He spent years studying the site, diving there over 100 times, and he's convinced it's man-made. Kimura believes it dates back at least 10,000 years, to a time when sea levels were much lower, exposing more land. He's even pointed to what he calls carvings, symbols and shapes etched into the rock that he thinks prove it's the work of an ancient civilization, maybe the mythical lost continent of Mu, a Pacific version of Atlantis. The idea is thrilling, but not everyone's on board. Geologists like Robert Schoch from Boston University have a different take. Schoch argues that the monument is completely natural, sculpted by the ocean itself. Yonaguni sits on a fault line, part of a tectonically active zone where the Earth's plates grind and shift. He says the steps are just layers of rock, bedding planes, that split apart naturally, and the terraces are the result of erosion from waves and currents. In 2019, a team led by Takayuki Ogata used cutting-edge imaging to study the site, and they found similar formations nearby, suggesting this is just how the local rock breaks down over time. They say there's no evidence of tool marks or human construction, just nature doing its thing. The debate gets heated. Kimura counters that the symmetry and layout are too precise for random erosion. He's mapped out what he thinks are walls, a moat, and even a triangular pool, arguing that nature doesn't build with such purpose. Schoch fires back that the ocean can create stunning patterns. Think of the Giant's Causeway in Ireland, with its hexagonal columns, all natural. Then there's Graham Hancock, an author and adventurer who's visited the site. He's noticed something odd. There aren't many loose blocks around the monument, which you'd expect if it was just weathering away. He wonders if humans cleared the debris, shaping it into something meaningful. A temple, a gathering place, a monument to a forgotten people. Adding to the mystery, the Japanese government hasn't officially recognized the site as a cultural artifact, so it's not protected or heavily studied. Divers flock there anyway, drawn by the allure of the unknown. Was this a thriving settlement 10,000 years ago, submerged when the ice melted and the seas rose? Or is it a geological fluke, a canvas of wind and water? The Yonaguni Monument sits quietly underwater, its story still unwritten, challenging us to decide what we believe. Mystery 3. The Colossal Squid. Now let's meet a creature that sounds like it swam out of a horror movie. The Colossal Squid. This isn't some exaggerated fisherman's tale. It's real, and it's enormous. Known scientifically as Mesonechotuthis hamiltoni, the colossal squid is the biggest invertebrate on Earth. Females can grow up to 14 meters long, that's longer than a school bus, and weigh over 500 kilograms. Males are a bit smaller, but still massive. These giants live in the icy depths of the Southern Ocean, around Antarctica, lurking in the mesopelagic and bathypelagic zones, 1,000 to 2,000 meters down, where the pressure is crushing and the darkness is total. What sets this squid apart isn't just its size, it's the way it's built. It has the largest eyes in the animal kingdom, up to 27 centimeters across, about the size of a dinner plate. Those eyes are perfect for spotting prey or predators in the black abyss, where sunlight never reaches. Its tentacles are a nightmare, lined with sharp, rotating hooks that can twist and dig into anything they grab. Unlike the giant squid, which has suckers with teeth, the colossal squid's hooks are like weapons, designed to latch onto slippery fish or even other squids. And then there's its beak, hard as steel, strong enough to snap bones, hidden at the center of its tentacles. This is a predator built to dominate its world. But here's the crazy part. We barely know anything about it. The colossal squid is so elusive that scientists have only studied a handful of specimens, and most of those were just scraps, tentacles or beaks, pulled from the stomachs of sperm whales, the squid's only known natural enemy. Sperm whales dive deep to hunt them, and the battles must be epic. Whales often bear scars from those hooks. The first whole colossal squid wasn't caught until 2007, when fishermen in the Ross Sea accidentally hauled one up in their nets. It weighed 495 kilograms and was a female, packed with eggs, hinting at a life cycle we've never witnessed. That specimen's now preserved in New Zealand, but it's one of the only ones we've got. Why is it so hard to study? The answer's in the habitat. The Southern Ocean is brutal, freezing cold, pitch black, and under immense pressure. Sending researchers or robots down there is a logistical nightmare. What we do know is fascinating, though. The squid's metabolism is super slow. It might only need 30 grams of food a day to survive, despite its size. That suggests it's an ambush predator, floating motionless in the dark, waiting for prey to come close before striking with those deadly arms. Some think it might use bioluminescence, glowing faintly to lure fish, but we've never seen it in action. We don't know how it mates, how long it lives, or even how many are out there. Estimates range from thousands to millions, but it's all guesswork. The colossal squid's rarity adds to its mystique. Fishermen have told tales of massive squids for centuries. Legends of the kraken might even be inspired by this beast. In 1925, two scientists, Guy Robson and Richard Dell, first identified it from tentacle fragments, but it took decades to confirm it was a distinct species, separate from the giant squid. Every new find teaches us something, yet the gaps in our knowledge are huge. If a creature this big can hide so well, what else is down there? Could there be even larger monsters, unseen and untouched by human eyes? The colossal squid is a living mystery, proof that the ocean's depths are still wild and untamed. Mystery 4. The Devil's Sea. Our next mystery pulls us into the Pacific Ocean, just south of Tokyo, to a region called the Devil's Sea, or the Dragon's Triangle. It's a stretch of water with a dark reputation, where ships and planes vanish without a trace. The stories go back centuries, whispered by sailors who feared its unpredictable currents and sudden storms. It's often compared to the Bermuda Triangle, and for good reason. The Devil's Sea has a knack for swallowing things up and leaving no clues behind. One of the most haunting incidents happened in August 1945, as World War II was winding down. A Japanese pilot, Shiro Kawamoto, was flying a Mitsubishi A6M0 over the area on a routine mission. He radioed back to base, his voice tense. "Something is happening in the sky. The sky is opening up." Then, silence. His plane was gone. No wreckage, no signal, nothing. Search parties scoured the area, but it was like the ocean had erased him. Another chilling case came in the 1950s, when the Kayo Maru No. 5, a research ship with 31 crew members, set out to study the Devil's Sea itself. It disappeared too, lost to the same waters it was trying to understand. After that, the Japanese government had enough. They labeled the area a danger zone and told ships to avoid it. The legends grew from there. Some say the Devil's Sea is cursed, haunted by spirits or ancient dragons from Japanese folklore. Others believe it's a paranormal hotspot, a rift in reality where things slip into other dimensions. There are even theories about underwater alien bases, with UFOs zipping in and out of the sea, snatching ships for experiments. It sounds far-fetched, but when you hear about planes vanishing mid-flight, It's easy to let your imagination run wild. Scientists, though, have more practical ideas. The Devil's Sea sits over a hotbed of tectonic activity, where underwater volcanoes rumble and the Earth's crust shifts. That can stir up chaos, sudden eruptions, gas releases, rogue waves. One theory points to methane hydrates, pockets of gas trapped in the sea floor. If they burst free, they send massive bubbles to the surface, dropping the water's density. A ship caught in that could sink in seconds, with no time to call for help. The area is also notorious for wild weather. Storms can roll in out of nowhere, and the currents are a mess, pulling vessels off course. In 1989, a study by the Japan Coast Guard found that volcanic activity near Myojin Show, close to the Devil's Sea, had caused several shipwrecks over the years, including the Kayomaru No. 5. Not everyone buys the science, though. In 1975, author Larry Kusha dug into the Devil's Sea stories and found holes in the myths. He argued that many of the lost ships were small fishing boats, poorly equipped and prone to trouble. He also clarified that some disappearances happened outside the Devil's Sea, exaggerated by rumor. But even Kusha couldn't explain every case, like Kawamoto's plane, vanishing in clear skies. The locals call it Mano Umi, the Sea of the Devil, and it's steeped in culture. Think of old tales where dragons rise from the depths to claim their due. Whether it's geology or something stranger, the Devil's Sea keeps its secrets close, a place where the ocean's power feels alive and untamed. Mystery 5. The Milky Sea's Effect. Our final mystery is something magical, the Milky Sea's Effect. Picture this. You're sailing through the ocean at night, far from land, when the water around you starts to glow. Not a faint shimmer, but a bright, steady blue that stretches for miles, like the sea has turned into a glowing mirror of the stars above. It's not a trick or a ghost story. It's real, and sailors have been describing it for hundreds of years. They call it the Milky Sea's Effect, and it's one of the ocean's most enchanting puzzles. This glow comes from bioluminescent bacteria, tiny organisms like Vibrio harveyi that light up the water. Unlike the quick flashes of a jellyfish, these bacteria create a constant radiance, sometimes covering areas as big as 15,000 square kilometers, about the size of a small country. One of the most famous sightings was in 1995, off Somalia's coast. A ship called the SS Lima sailed through glowing waters for 3 nights straight, the crew mesmerized by the surreal beauty. The captain logged it as a whitish glow, like a field of snow, stretching to the horizon. In 2019, satellites spotted another event near Java, Indonesia, that lasted over 40 days, one of the longest on record. So, what causes it? Scientists know the bacteria need warm water and nutrients to thrive, but why they bloom into these massive glowing patches is a mystery. It's not just a random occurrence, there's a pattern. Most sightings happen in the northwestern Indian Ocean, often after monsoons or shifts in currents. Researchers think it might tie to upwelling, where deep, nutrient-rich water rises up, feeding the bacteria. Others suggest climate events, like the Indian Ocean dipole, could play a role, altering temperatures and sparking the glow. But the exact trigger? That's still up in the air. The history of the Milky Sea's effect is full of wonder. Back in 1915, a Dutch ship reported a Milky Sea, so bright they could read by it. Melkzee, they called it. Somali sailors named it Kalunka Iftiima, or glowing sea creatures, tying it to their folklore. There are over 235 documented cases, some from the 18th century, scribbled in old logbooks. The bacteria themselves are wild. They only glow when they hit a certain density, a trick called quorum sensing. It's like they're talking to each other, deciding when to flip the switch and light up the night. One theory says they glow to attract fish, which eat them and spread their colonies. Nature's clever marketing. In 2005, scientists caught the phenomenon on satellite for the first time, proving it wasn't just sailor tales. Since then, they've tracked more events, but they're rare and unpredictable. Why do some blooms last days and others weeks? What makes the bacteria pick one spot over another? There's ongoing research. Teams are studying ocean currents, bacterial DNA, even the chemistry of the water. But the full story's still out of reach. The Milky Sea's effect is a reminder of how alive the ocean is, a glowing mystery that dazzles us and keeps us asking questions long after the light fades. There you have it, 5 deep sea mysteries that show just how incredible and unknown our oceans are. From the Baltic Sea Anomaly's strange shapes to the Milky Sea's effect's glowing waters, these stories pull us into a world we're only beginning to understand. With 95% of the ocean still unexplored, these are just the tip of the iceberg, or maybe the tip of the abyss. Thanks for diving in with me on this episode of Mysteries Unveiled. If you love this journey, hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe for more. What do you think is hiding down there? Tell me below. Until next time, keep exploring the unknown.